going to show you a technique in beading called the ladder weave, and it's known as ladder weave because the beads are laid out and they look like a ladder. And you need quite a long length of beading wire for this because you're going to actually put beads on both sides of it. So take your piece of beading wire and you're going to thread on your clasp and put it halfway along the beading wire. Then take both ends of the beading wire and thread them through a crimp tube. So your crimp tube is going through both of those pieces of beading wire, and then you're going to push the crimp tube right up against the end of the clasp. So make sure that you've got equal lengths of beading wire on both sides. So take your flat nose pliers and press the crimp tube down to secure it. And then we're going to take a crimp cover. So this is this C-shaped little clamp that covers the crimp tube. Just makes it more comfortable to wear and also creates a nice effect at the end of the clasp and makes it look like a bead. So once you've done that, you should have two equal pieces of beading thread, and we're going to start by threading on one of our blue beads. So that's going to go through both pieces of the beading thread, and the bead is going to rest up against the crimp cover. So on one side of the beading thread you're going to thread a red bead on, and you're going to put another red bead on the other side of the beading thread. Next thing you're going to do is take one side of your beading thread, and we're going to take a blue coloured stone this time and thread one of the ends of the beading thread through the bead hole, and then take the other end of the beading thread back through the opposite hole. So sometimes it can be a little bit tricky finding the hole, but the beads, make sure you're using beads that are wide enough to get two pieces of beading thread through them. So once you've done that, you just need to pull both ends of the thread so that the bead goes all the way down and rests up against the two red beads. And this is a process that you're going to repeat all the way along. So whether you're making a bracelet or a necklace, then you will do this. So threading one type of bead on both sides of the beading thread, and then a piece of thread through one hole, and then the opposite thread through the hole going in the opposite direction, and then pulling both of those wires taut so that the bead rests back up against the two red beads at the base. So as you can see, the effect that you create looks just like a ladder, and this can be really effective. I'm using these lozenge shaped beads, but the effect looks completely different when you use rounds or when you use bicones. So experiment with different shapes and sizes of beads. Also, instead of just putting one bead on either side, you could experiment with smaller beads and put 2 or 3, and this elongates the design and gives it a whole different look. So have fun with this technique, and hope you enjoy experimenting with ladder weave.